Okay, so let's unpack this. Welcome back to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we are doing something a little different, something that I have actually been itching to get into for a while now.
Oh, absolutely. Me too.
Because we are looking at what I like to call a missing backstory.
It really is a missing backstory. I mean, it is this massive gap in a narrative that billions of people think they know by heart.
Right.
But most of them have never actually read the prequel.
Exactly. We are talking about Abram. You know, before he becomes Abraham, the father of nations, the man who journeys to Canaan.
The guy everyone knows.
Yeah. But we aren't talking about the stars in the sky or the sacrifice of Isaac today. We are looking at the origin story.
The gritty origin story.
The incredibly gritty, action-packed, politically charged prequel.
And what a prequel it is. We are diving specifically into the Book of Jasher, chapter 12.
And let me tell you, if you are listening to this right now and thinking, oh, ancient texts, that sounds dry, that sounds like, I don't know, a genealogy list.
Right, a list of who begat who.
Yeah, exactly. If you think that, you really need to buckle up. Because this chapter, it is a high-stakes cinematic drama.
Oh, completely.
I am reading this, and I am seeing a movie in my head. We have a tyrannical king. We have a furnace that makes industrial steel mills look like campfires.
Literal campfires.
Yeah, and we have a family betrayal that is honestly Shakespearean in how cruel it is.
It reads like a political thriller. That is genuinely the best way to describe it.
It really does. It has got court intrigue, prison breaks, assassination attempts.
And some of the weirdest, most surreal prophetic dreams I have ever encountered.
Oh, the dreams. We were talking eggs turning into rivers and birds plucking out eyes. It gets wild.
But if we zoom out for a second, at its core, this whole thing is a clash of wills.
Right.
On one side, you have King Nimrod. And in this text, he represents the ultimate tyrant of the ancient world.
The builder of Babel.
Yes, the man who essentially wants to replace God with the state. He wants total control.
And then on the other side, you have Abram.
The ultimate iconoclast.
The rebel.
Exactly. And this chapter explains why they clash so hard. It explains how Abram survived to become the historical and religious figure we know today.
Because, spoiler alert, he does not just walk away easily.
No, he does not. He has to walk through fire first.
Literally through fire. So, our mission for this deep dive today is to unpack this text, line by line, scene by scene.
We are going to cover the trial of Abram.
We will cover the tragic and, frankly, messy story of his family, specifically his father Terah and his brother Haran.
And, of course, the miracle in the furnace.
And we absolutely have to discuss the nightmares, the psychological warfare that eventually forces Abram to go into exile.
It is a lot of ground to cover.
It is. So let's set the scene. We are in Casdim.
Right, ancient Babylon.
Essentially, yeah. The land of the Chaldeans. It is the absolute superpower of the day.
Unrivaled.
And Abram is in trouble. Serious trouble.
That is putting it very mildly. The text picks up right after a major incident.
Right, because Abram has not just been, handing out pamphlets or something.
No, he has actively reviled the king. And he has mocked and destroyed the idols of his father.
Which is a huge deal.
It is massive. In a theocratic dictatorship like Nimrod's, that isn't just heresy.
It is treason.
It is high treason against the state itself.
So let's dive into segment 1, the trial of Abram. The text opens with Abram being thrown in prison.
Which is interesting, right? Because it isn't just a quick arrest and execute situation.
Yeah. Nimrod is furious. The text says he hears Abram's words, how he logically dismantled idol worship, and his immediate reaction is to lock him up.
He throws him in the dungeon.
And Abram spends 10 days in prison.
10 full days.
I want to pause on that for a second. Why 10 days?
Oh, it feels like a cooling off period, doesn't it? Or perhaps an interrogation period.
Like psychological torture.
Exactly. In these ancient court systems, you don't just execute a high-profile prisoner immediately, especially one connected to a high-ranking family like Terah's.
You let them sit in the dark.
You let the fear set in. Nimrod is likely waiting to see if Abram breaks, to see if he will recant.
It is total psychological pressure. The king is thinking, let him stew for a week and a half, then see if he is still so cocky.
Right. But what is so fascinating is what happens after those 10 days.
Yes.
Nimrod does not just make an executive decision in his bedroom. He summons the all-stars of his kingdom.
The guest list for this trial is unbelievable. The text literally says he ordered all the kings, princes, and governors of different provinces and the sages.
This is not a small meeting in the Oval Office.
No. This is a massive state summit.
It is a state tribunal. This is the highest court in the known world at that time.
Nimrod brings Abram out of the house of confinement, And he puts the question to his council. He needs consensus here.
He does. And notice Nimrod's confusion in this scene.
Yeah, Nimrod seems genuinely baffled by Abram.
He really is.
He says to the princes, have you heard what Abram has done? And then he points out something really specific about Abram's demeanor.
This is my favorite part.
He says, his heart did not misgive him, neither did he stir in my presence.
That is such a crucial character beat for Abram.
It really is.
You have to understand, Nimrod is the mighty hunter. He is the tyrant of the world. People probably faint when he just walks into a room.
They are terrified of him.
Absolutely terrified. But here's this guy, Abram, who has been rotting in a dark dungeon for 10 days.
Smelling terrible, probably starving.
Right. And he stands before the most powerful man on earth, and he does not flinch.
He is totally, completely unrepentant.
He is not shaking. He is not begging for his life.
And that confidence just deeply unsettles Nimrod.
Because tyrants thrive on fear. That is their currency.
When someone isn't afraid, the tyrant just does not know what to do. The playbook is ruined.
Exactly. So Nimrod turns to his sages and he asks them, what is the law? What do we do with a guy like this?
And the sages' response is so fascinating from a legal perspective.
It really is. They act like lawyers.
They actually debate the sentencing based on precedent. It wasn't just a mob shouting, kill him, kill him.
Right. They had a twisted sort of logic to it. They tell the king, the man who revileth the king should be hanged upon a tree. That is the standard punishment for treason or insulting the crown. Hanging is the political punishment.
Okay, so hanging is option A. That is for insulting Nimrod the man.
Correct. But then they continue their legal argument. They say, but having done all the things that he said, and having despised our gods, he must therefore be burned to death.
Because this is the law in this matter.
Precisely.
So it is the religious crime that escalates the sentence from hanging to fire.
Exactly. If he had just insulted Nimrod's tax policy or something, he would hang.
Right.
But because he attacked the gods, the very foundation of their society, the metaphysical glue that holds the empire together, the sentence becomes death by fire.
Because fire is purification.
Yes. They don't just want to kill him. They want to erase him completely.
And Nimrod agrees immediately. He says, let's do it.
But he does not just light a match in the courtyard.
Oh, no. The preparation for this execution is massive. It is almost industrial in scale.
It is a pure spectacle. The king orders the fire to be kindled in the brick furnace of Casdim.
And listen to the duration of this. The text says, for 3 full days and nights.
3 full days and nights of just stoking a fire.
Imagine the heat building up over 72 hours.
They are just burning some wood for a bonfire. They are creating a literal inferno.
They are trying to create a heat so intense that it leaves absolutely nothing behind.
It is overkill. It is shock and awe tactics.
And the audience. The text gives us specific numbers here.
And the numbers are staggering.
It says 900,000 men stood opposite the furnace.
900,000.
That is nearly 1 million people.
Just try to picture that.
That is a medium-sized modern city, all standing in one valley, just watching a fire.
And that is just the men.
Right. The text explicitly adds that all the women and little ones crowded upon the roofs and towers.
Everyone was there.
And then it emphasizes it by saying there was not a man left that did not come on that day to behold the scene.
Which tells you everything you need to know.
This is the Super Bowl of executions.
That is a great way to put it. The entire society has completely shut down to watch this one single man burn.
Which really shows you how significant Abram was as a threat to the state.
You don't gather 1 million people for a common street thief. This was a calculated demonstration of absolute power by Nimrod.
He needed everyone to see what happens when you challenge the system.
He wanted 1 million witnesses to the total destruction of the heretic. It is public messaging at its most brutal.
So everyone is gathered. The heat is probably radiating across the crowd, baking them.
It had to be suffocating.
Abram is brought out. And this is where the story takes a massive, sharp turn into the past.
We are entering segment 2, the betrayal of Terah.
Yes, this is the huge plot twist of the chapter.
Just as the execution is about to begin, the conjurers and the sages get a really good look at Abram.
Maybe they haven't seen him close up until now. He has been in prison.
Exactly. And suddenly, as they look at his face, a memory unlocks.
They recognize him. And not from seeing him on the street, but from a prophecy.
They do. They cry out to the king, "Surely this is the man whom we know to have been the child at whose birth the great star swallowed the 4 stars."
Whoa. Let's unpack that imagery for a second. The great star swallowed the 4 stars.
This refers to a prophecy from 50 years prior in the text.
50 years?
Yeah. When Abram was born, these exact same sages saw a celestial omen.
A large star consuming 4 smaller stars from the 4 corners of the heavens.
Right. And in the ancient Mesopotamian mindset, the stars represent kings and kingdoms and earthly powers.
So they interpreted it to mean that this baby Abram would grow up to conquer and destroy the kingdom.
Exactly. Since the day he was born, this guy has been flagged as a massive threat to national security.
And back then, 50 years ago, they told Nimrod to kill the baby.
They did. But, and here is the realization hitting them in real time, right in front of this blazing furnace, they realized they were tricked.
They realized that Terah, Abram's own father, pulled a switch.
They connect the dots instantly. They turn to the king and they say, "His father has also transgressed thy commands, and mocked thee by bringing thee another child, which thou didst kill."
Man, the tension just skyrocketed.
It is off the charts.
Nimrod is already mad at Abram for the idols. Now he realizes he's been played for half a century.
And by who? By Terah, who is one of his top generals.
The betrayal is deeply personal now. The text says Nimrod was exceedingly wroth.
He summons Terah immediately.
And this confrontation is intense. Nimrod looks at Terah and basically offers him a plea deal right there on the spot.
A very dangerous plea deal.
He says, "Tell me the truth. How did you do this? If you speak the truth, you shall be acquitted."
It is a classic interrogation tactic.
Just give me the facts and I will let you go.
I just want the truth. It is the lie every tyrant tells to get a confession.
And Terah just completely crumbles.
He really does. He confesses immediately.
He admits, "My tender feelings were excited for my son."
Which is a very human moment initially. He is a father. He could not bear to hand over his newborn to be executed by the state.
So he admits he took the son of a handmaid and gave that baby to the king instead.
Which is incredibly grim in its own right.
He sacrificed another innocent child to save his own.
It really shows the brutality of the caste system they lived in. The handmaid's child was expendable.
But in the context of saving Abram, he succeeded. The switch worked.
For 50 years, yes.
But Nimrod is not satisfied with just the how. He wants to know the who.
Right. Nimrod asks, "Who advised thee to this? Tell me, do not hide aught from me, and then thou shalt not die."
He wants the co-conspirators.
He wants names.
And this is where Terah just completely loses me. This is the moment of ultimate betrayal.
It is a horrific moment of cowardice.
Yeah.
Terah is, as the text says, greatly terrified.
He looks at the king. He looks at that 72-hour fire in the furnace.
And he thinks Nimrod is going to kill him despite the promise of a pardon.
So he desperately looks for a scapegoat. And he points to his eldest son, Haran.
Haran, who is Abram's older brother.
Much older brother.
Yes, the text says Haran was 32 when Abram was born.
So at this trial, 50 years later, Haran is 82 years old.
He's an old man.
And Terah looks at the king and says, "It was Haran, my eldest son, who advised me to this."
He flat out lies.
The source text is explicit here, isn't it?
Completely explicit. It says, "But Haran did not advise his father to anything."
Terah just said it in order to deliver his soul from the king.
He threw his 82-year-old son under the bus to save his own skin.
It is just devastating. A father sacrificing one son to the fire to save himself, while his other son is already condemned to that same fire.
And the worst part is, the lie works.
Nimrod buys it completely.
He says, "Haran, my son, who advised thee to this, shall die through fire with Abram."
So now, because of Terah's lie, Haran is being dragged toward the furnace alongside Abram.
2 brothers heading to the same execution.
And this brings us to segment 3, the tale of 2 brothers, because we get this truly fascinating insight into Haran's head.
This is one of the most psychologically complex parts of the entire chapter.
You have 2 brothers facing the exact same fire, but their internal states are completely different.
Very different. The text gives us Haran's internal monologue.
He isn't a firm believer like Abram.
No, but he isn't exactly a loyalist to Nimrod either.
He is a fence-sitter.
He is the ultimate opportunist. The text says, Haran at that time felt inclined to follow the ways of Abram, but he kept it within himself.
He is hedging his bets.
He is waiting to see which way the wind blows.
Listen to his thought process here. It is chillingly pragmatic. He thinks to himself, "Behold, now the king has seized Abram."
Right.
And it shall come to pass that if Abram prevail over the king, I will follow him. But if the king prevail, I will go after the king.
It is a wager. It is literally a theological wager.
He is deciding his ultimate allegiance based on the physical outcome of the trial.
He wants to see who wins before he picks a side. It is the classic battle of conviction versus convenience.
Abram has absolute conviction. Haran is just looking for convenience.
It is fatal indecision. He lacks, as the text later explicitly says, a perfect heart.
And that spiritual condition has very real physical consequences in this narrative.
So the execution begins.
The servants grab them. They strip Abram and Haran,
They take off all their clothes except their lower garments.
which is a really specific detail. They aren't totally naked, but they are stripped of status, armor, or any physical protection.
They are humiliated in front of 1 million people,
And they bind them, hands and feet with linen cords.
tightly bound so they cannot fight back.
And then they cast them both into the roaring furnace.
And here is where the divergent outcomes happen. 2 men go in, only 1 survives.
Let's look at Abram first. What happens to him?
The text says, "The Lord loved Abram, and he had compassion over him. God comes down and delivers him. He is not burned at all."
But Haran?
Haran is destroyed instantly.
Instantly.
The text says Haran died when they had cast him into the fire, and he was burned to ashes, for his heart was not perfect with the Lord.
Because he was waiting to see if the miracle would happen before he believed in it.
Exactly. He wanted the proof before the faith.
And the fire did not wait.
It is a brutal lesson for anyone reading this text. You cannot borrow someone else's conviction in a crisis.
Haran tried to ride Abram's coattails into salvation, and he turned to ash instead.
And the fire wasn't just dangerous for Haran.
No, it was so intense that it actually lashed out at the executioners.
Yes, this is a very cinematic detail. The text notes that the flames spread over them, and 12 of the men who threw them in were burned to death on the spot.
12 men, just from the ambient heat and the flare-up.
That gives you a real sense of the volatility of this furnace. It is uncontrolled power.
It is biting the hand that feeds it. The state's weapon is killing the state's workers.
So Haran is ashes, the 12 executioners are dead.
But Abram is he's just walking around.
This image is so surreal. It says, Abram walked in the midst of the fire for 3 days and 3 nights.
Wait, 3 whole days.
3 days.
I missed that detail the first time I read it. I thought he just popped in, the fire didn't work, and he popped right out.
No. He was in there for 72 hours.
He was walking to and fro, just pacing in the inferno.
Imagine the crowd. They're out there for 3 days watching.
Waiting for him to drop.
And he just keeps walking. It is a marathon of a miracle.
And the servants eventually see this clearly. They run to Nimrod and say, "Behold, we have seen Abram walking about."
And they add this crazy detail, and even the lower garments which are upon him are not burned.
But the cords are gone.
The cords?
Yeah, that is the symbolic detail. The linen cords with which he was bound are burned off completely.
The things that the world used to bind him are destroyed, but the man himself is totally untouched.
He is completely free inside the fire. The fire actually liberated him from his bonds.
Nimrod's reaction to this news is classic denial.
Total cognitive dissonance. The text says his heart fainted and he would not believe him.
He refuses to accept it. It entirely breaks his reality tunnel.
If the fire doesn't work, his power means nothing.
So he sends more princes to check. He needs verification.
And they come back and confirm it. Finally, the king realizes he has to go look for himself.
And he sees it with his own eyes. Abram walking, Haran turned to a pile of ash.
This leads us right into segment 4. The exit and the aftermath. Nimrod wants Abram out of that furnace.
But he cannot get him out.
Right. Nimrod orders his servants, take him out.
And the fire attacks them again. The flames actually ascend toward the servants.
They flee for their lives.
Nimrod rebukes them, calls them cowards, tells them to hurry up, and they try again.
And the body count just keeps rising. It says 8 more servants died trying to retrieve Abram.
So we are up to 20 dead executioners now, 12 at the start, 8 at the retrieval.
The king's power is completely impotent against this fire now. He can put people in, but he absolutely cannot take them out.
So Nimrod has to do the one thing a tyrant hates doing more than anything.
He has to ask nicely.
He has to acknowledge a higher power.
He calls out to Abram directly. He says, "O servant of the God who is in heaven, go forth from amidst the fire and come hither before me."
Notice the shift in language. He goes from "throw this heretic in" to "O servant of the God who is in heaven."
He respects the power. And Abram He just walks out.
He walks right out of the furnace, and the physical inspection afterward is incredible.
The king and all the servants stare at him. His skin is fine. His lower garments are completely fine.
There is no smell of smoke mentioned at all.
But the cords are gone.
Nimrod asks the obvious question, how is it that thou wast not burned?
And Abram gives the ultimate theological mic drop.
He really does.
He looks at the most powerful man in the world and says, "The God of heaven and earth, in whom I trust and who has all in his power, he delivered me."
And the reaction of the crowd is immediate.
900,000 people, plus the king himself, bow down to Abram right there in the dust.
They recognize raw power when they see it. They worship strength.
But Abram corrects them instantly.
Yeah.
This is crucial for his character. He does not want to be the new Nimrod.
He doesn't want their blind obedience to him as a man.
He says, "Do not bow down to me, but bow down to the God of the world who made you."
He redirects the worship. He actually gives a mini sermon right there on the spot.
He talks about the God who creates souls, forms man in the womb, and delivers those who trust in him.
He is actively dismantling the state religion right in front of the king, and the king can do absolutely nothing to stop him.
And Nimrod, he seems almost impressed, or maybe just terrified.
I think it is a very tense mix of awe and political calculation.
He realizes he cannot kill this guy. The 72-hour fire did not work.
So if you can't kill your enemy, what do? You pivot to buying him off.
He showers Abram with gifts: silver, gold, pearls. Just immense wealth.
And he gives him two specific servants from his own royal house.
Yes, Oni and Eliezer.
Eliezer, that name is incredibly important.
Very important. For anyone who knows the rest of the Genesis narrative, Eliezer becomes Abram's head servant.
His right-hand man for decades.
And here in Jasher, we learn that Eliezer was actually a parting gift from King Nimrod.
The tyrant provided the very man who had helped build and protect Abram's household.
Irony at its finest.
Truly. It is like the antagonist accidentally funding the protagonist's future success without realizing it.
Yeah. So Abram leaves. He walks away from the furnace with 300 men following him.
A small army of converts, essentially.
And he goes back to his father's house.
And we get a very quick family update here in the text.
Right. Nahor, Abram's other brother, marries Milcah, and Abram marries Sarai.
Both of whom are daughters of Haran, right?
Yes. So they marry their own nieces.
We have to remember, in this ancient context, with the family lines being so tight and populations being structured differently, this was the custom to keep the lineage close.
It wasn't viewed with the taboo we have today.
No, it was entirely about survival, property, and preserving the bloodline.
Right. And the text notes very simply, almost as an aside, Sarai was barren. She had no offspring in those days.
It's a small detail, but one that sets up the entire rest of biblical history.
That barrenness becomes the driving force of the next 50 years of the narrative.
But the story in Casdim isn't over yet.
No, we have a time jump. We're moving into segment 5, the dream and the escape.
2 whole years pass. Abram is now 52 years old.
Nimrod is still on the throne in Babel.
But he's not sleeping well.
Not at all. The trauma of the furnace is clearly haunting him. He has a nightmare.
And this dream is intensely vivid.
It is incredibly specific. Nimrod dreams he is standing with his troops in the valley opposite that exact same furnace.
Returning to the scene of the crime in his subconscious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he sees a man who looks exactly like Abram coming out of the furnace.
But this time the man has a drawn sword.
The man springs at the king. The king turns and runs away in terror.
And then comes the egg.
Yes. As the king is running, the man throws an egg at the king's head.
An egg.
An egg? Why an egg? It seems so random.
Well, dreams are highly symbolic. An egg is small. It is fragile. It represents potential, life, something that seems entirely harmless on the surface.
But this egg cracks open and suddenly becomes a great river.
That is the transformation. The seemingly small, harmless thing becomes an overwhelming, unstoppable force.
And the river floods the valley and drowns all of Nimrod's troops. They sink and die.
Complete military devastation.
Nimrod only escapes the flood with 3 men.
And then the river turns back into an egg.
Yes. The water recedes, forms back into an egg, and from the egg hatches a young bird.
Okay.
And this bird flies straight at Nimrod and plucks out his eye.
Yay.
So we have this wild cycle. Man with sword, egg, river drowns army, egg again, bird, eye plucked out.
Nimrod wakes up in absolute terror.
Naturally. The text says his spirit is agitated. He calls his chief magician a man named Anuki.
Anuki. And Anuki does not sugarcoat it at all. He is the one honest advisor here.
Not at all. Anuki listens to the dream and says, "This is nothing else but the evil of Abram and his seed."
He interprets the symbolism immediately. There is no hesitation.
The river, the egg, the bird. It all represents Abram's descendants, his seed, that will eventually rise up and destroy the kingdom.
Specifically, the river drowning the troops represents the sheer power of Abram's lineage to overwhelm the armies of Babylon.
And the bird plucking out the eye.
That is a very pointed symbol of personal destruction and deep humiliation for the king himself. You lose your vision, you lose your power.
And the 3 men who escaped the river with Nimrod.
Anuki says that represents a future battle where Nimrod will flee with only 3 other kings.
It is a prophecy of total military defeat.
So Anuki's conclusion is very simple. Kill Abram again.
He says, as long as Abram lives, neither thou nor thy kingdom will be established.
He's a binary choice. It is him or you. The empire cannot coexist with this man.
Nimrod agrees instantly. He sends secret agents out to seize and kill Abram.
He is completely done with the public trials and the grand spectacle.
This is a quiet assassination.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a mole in the court.
Eliezer.
The servant Nimrod gave to Abram 2 years ago.
The text says Eliezer was, at that time, in the presence of the king.
He is still navigating those high court circles, maybe visiting on errands, maybe actively gathering intel for Abram.
Whatever the reason, he is there, and he overhears the entire assassination plot.
And he rushes straight to Abram.
He says, rise up and save thy soul.
And Abram listens. This is such an interesting character detail.
He survived the intense fire of the furnace, but he does not stand around waiting for the assassin's knife.
Exactly. Faith is not stupidity. God saved him from the furnace when he was trapped, but common sense tells him to run when he has a head start.
And where does he hide? Because this was the detail that completely blew my mind when I read it.
Oh, it changes everything. He hides at the house of Noah and Shem.
Noah, as in the ark, the flood, the animals 2 by 2.
The very same Noah.
Yeah.
In the chronology of the Book of Jasher, Noah is still alive.
He is the ancient patriarch, the oldest living survivor.
That puts such a wildly different spin on ancient history.
You have Abram, the new iconoclast, seeking physical refuge with Noah, the old survivor of the previous world's destruction.
It bridges the eras perfectly. It connects the generations in a way we rarely think about.
It really validates Abram's mission, too. He isn't just a rogue rebel. He is aligning himself with the righteous line of antiquity.
He stays hidden there with them for a full month.
Nimrod's servants search everywhere. They tear the city apart but cannot find him.
And eventually, the king just kind of forgets.
Or gives up. The text says the king drove from his mind this matter.
He has a massive kingdom to run. He can't chase one ghost forever, even if that ghost haunts his dreams.
So Abram is safe for the moment, but he knows he can't stay in Casdim permanently.
Which brings us to the final segment, the departure to Canaan.
Terah, the father who betrayed his brother, comes to visit Abram secretly at Noah's house.
And remember, Terah is still a very big shot in Babylon. The text says he was very great in the eyes of the king.
He is a full collaborator. He is enjoying all the wealth and status of being close to Nimrod.
But Abram sits him down and gives him a harsh reality check.
Abram pleads with him. He says, dost thou not know that the king thinketh to slay me?
He appeals directly to Terah's logic. He basically says, look, Nimrod does not love you. He is using you. And eventually this whole house of cards will fall.
I love the line about vanity here. Abram says, if he do unto thee greater good than this, surely these are only vanities of the world, for wealth and riches cannot avail in the day of wrath.
It is such a powerful argument. He is telling his father that all this political maneuvering, all this betrayal and lying to stay safe, it is entirely worthless in the end.
When the wrath comes, Nimrod's gold won't stop it.
Exactly.
And he proposes a radical solution. Let us go to the land of Canaan.
It is an escape plan. Let's get completely out of the blast radius of this empire.
And then the heavyweights weigh in. Noah and Shem.
This is the ultimate seal of approval. Noah and Shem say to Terah, true is the word which Abram hath said.
Imagine having Noah, the guy who survived the end of the world, look at you and tell you, listen to your son.
You would pack your bags immediately.
And Terah listens. He finally accepts the plan as being from the Lord.
And so the family prepares to leave.
And that is exactly where the chapter leaves us, with the family preparing to leave Ur or Casdim.
Setting the massive stage for the biblical narrative everyone knows, but with a much darker, politically charged context.
It really changes how you view that famous journey to Canaan. It wasn't just a wandering nomadic trip, it was an escape.
They were political refugees fleeing a standing death sentence.
So let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here for you?
For me, it is the stark contrast between the god of the world and the earthly tyrant.
Yeah.
Nimrod has literally everything. He has armies, a massive furnace, walls, 900,000 spectators. But he is entirely powerless against one man who has true conviction.
And the danger of neutrality. Haran's fate is just haunting.
He tried to play the middle, and he was the very first to fall.
If the king prevails, I will go after the king. That mindset proved fatal. You simply can't borrow someone else's faith in the moment of crisis.
And of course, the incredible irony of Nimrod gifting Abram the servant, Eliezer, who eventually saves Abram's life.
It shows that tyrants often unwittingly plant the seeds of their own destruction. They think they are in total control, but even their gifts turn against them.
Which perfectly brings me to the final provocative thought.
Let's hear it.
That dream, the egg and the river.
Yes, the crazy dream.
It suggests something profound. It suggests that small things, an egg, one single man, a single idea, can contain overwhelming dormant power.
Like a river that suddenly topples empires.
Exactly. How often do tyrants create their own destroyers by trying so hard to crush them?
That is the ultimate lesson of history, isn't it? The harder you squeeze the egg, the faster the river flows.
I love that. The harder you squeeze, the faster the flood comes.
Well, that is all we have time for today. I highly recommend you go read Jasher chapter 12 yourself if you can find a copy. It is just wild.
It is absolutely worth the read.
We will see you next time on The Deep Dive.